My girlfriend's friend falsely accused me just because I didn't want to sleep with her. I lost everything. A year later, she asked for my forgiveness. I recorded her confession. Before we go on, hit subscribe and drop a comment telling us which city you're tuning in from. My name is Kenneth. I'm 26 years old, and I'm writing this because I kept silent for a long time. I didn't do it out of cowardice or convenience, but because I thought telling the truth would be useless. A year ago, a single accusation destroyed my relationship, my reputation, and a good part of my social life. Today, after everything that has happened, I need to record what happened from the beginning as clearly as possible. At that time, I was 25 years old and had been in a relationship with Elizabeth for almost 2 years. Our relationship was stable, without major conflicts. She was sociable, extroverted, and very close to her group of friends with whom we went out practically every weekend. I ended up joining that group more because of her than on my own initiative, but over time I came to feel comfortable. The group was made up of Levi, Omar, Dana, Natalia, Elizabeth, and me. Levi and Omar had been friends since high school. Dana and Natalia knew each other from college, and Elizabeth had brought them all together over time. The outings were almost always the same: dinners, bars, parties at acquaintances' houses, or gatherings where there was music, alcohol, and long conversations that repeated week after week. From the outside, we were a normal group. We laughed, shared photos on social media, and it seemed that we all got along well. However, there was something I didn't tell anyone for a long time, not even Elizabeth. Something that started so subtly that at first I even doubted if it was really happening. Natalia. Natalia was, in everyone's eyes, the good girl of the group. Always polite, she spoke calmly, didn't get into arguments, and rarely drank more than 2 drinks. In fact, she often offered to be the one to take care of the others when someone had too much alcohol. Elizabeth appreciated her very much and trusted her completely. At first, I had no problem with Natalia. I found her pleasant, perhaps a little reserved, but nothing out of the ordinary. Everything changed little by little, in such a gradual way that it took me time to accept that it wasn't a product of my imagination. The first time was at a party at a friend of Levi's house. The music was loud. Most people were dancing or talking in small groups. I was pouring myself a drink when Natalia approached and started a seemingly trivial conversation. At some point, without changing her tone of voice, she said to me, "Hey, don't you get bored of Elizabeth? I feel like she's a very shallow girl, you know? She just follows trends. I like to be different more." I was surprised, not only because she was bad-mouthing her friend, but because she was doing it with me, her boyfriend. I immediately replied that I didn't think it was right to talk about Elizabeth like that she was a good person, and that I wasn't interested in that kind of comment. Natalia smiled and said that she was just kidding, that I shouldn't take it so seriously. I decided not to give it any importance. I thought that maybe she had drunk a little more than usual, or that she simply had a strange sense of humor, but it wasn't the last time. On other occasions, always looking for moments when Elizabeth wasn't around, Natalia made similar comments. Some are more direct. "I feel like Elizabeth doesn't deserve you. You're a more sophisticated, more handsome guy." I always responded by keeping my distance. I would tell her not to talk like that Elizabeth was her friend, and that those kinds of comments were not appropriate. She again and again justified herself by saying that she was playing, that she didn't mean it, that I was too sensitive. There were never messages or obvious attempts in front of others. Everything happened in brief, almost calculated spaces. Hallways, kitchens, terraces, places where she could say something and then return to the group as if nothing had happened. The breaking point occurred at Elizabeth's birthday dinner. We had gone out to a restaurant to celebrate. It was just a close group. The night was going well. Elizabeth was happy, and I felt calm. At one point, I got up to go to the bathroom. It was a narrow, dimly lit hallway. When I came out, Natalia was there, leaning against the wall, as if she had been waiting for me. I didn't have time to react. Without saying anything, she pounced on me and kissed me. It was quick, clumsy, unexpected. I immediately pushed her away and looked around instinctively to see if anyone had seen us. My heart was pounding, not with emotion, but with fear and bewilderment. Natalia, on the other hand, seemed calm. "Relax, there's no one here," she said. I think they'll be busy for a while. What do you say we both go in the bathroom? I feel very hot. I felt a mixture of disbelief and anger. I told her no clearly and firmly. Of course not, I replied. This is wrong. Her expression changed. She was no longer smiling. What, are you gay or something? She said in a low voice. A real man wouldn't leave a woman wanting. That idiot Elizabeth won't know. It was at that moment that I understood that it was not a confusion or a misunderstanding. I told her that if she tried something like that again, I would tell Elizabeth everything, that I was not willing to allow it. Natalia looked at me intently and then said something that at that moment I didn't fully grasp. So if you don't sleep with me, I'll tell everyone that you came on to me. I'm the good girl of the group. Who do you think they'll believe? I didn't answer. I turned around and went back to the table with a knot in my stomach and a blank mind. I didn't want to make a scene at Elizabeth's birthday. I told myself that maybe Natalia was just talking out of anger, that she wouldn't carry out that threat. That was my mistake. From that day on, I changed my behavior within the group. I tried not to be alone, not to give rise to any ambiguous situation. I always stayed close to Elizabeth or the others. I thought that way everything would dissolve over time. A year ago, at a party similar to so many others, we all got together again. It was a rented house, loud music, low lights. Elizabeth was talking with Dana and Omar. I was standing listening to Levi talk about his work. Natalia was there too. I noticed how she got closer than usual. She invaded my personal space. She brushed my arm as she passed. I tried to move, but the place was crowded. At a moment when everyone was distracted, laughing at something Levi had said, I felt her hand. She touched my crotch. It was a brief but clear contact. It wasn't accidental. I froze completely, not knowing how to react. I felt a deep discomfort, a sense of alarm that ran through my entire body. She withdrew her hand as if nothing had happened and continued smiling, looking towards the group. I understood then that the threat was still present and that I was trapped in a situation that I still couldn't fully comprehend. In the same way as other times, I decided to go to the bathroom to get away for a moment. The house was large, the kind that people usually rent for parties, a large patio, tables outside, lights strung between the trees, and music that could be heard even from the street. It was summer, it was hot, and the atmosphere was heavy. The bathroom was not inside the house, but the back of the patio, separate, almost isolated from the rest. I walked there trying to calm down. I still had in my head the contact that Natalia had made minutes before. I told myself not to react, that it was best to stay calm and avoid any confrontation. When I came out of the bathroom, I saw her. Natalia was standing there a few steps from the door. This time she didn't pounce on me. Her posture was different. She looked tense, restless. She was moving her hands. She avoided looking at me directly. She seemed nervous, even anxious. It's here, Kenneth, she said in a low voice. Now you're going to give me what I want if you don't want me to tell everyone that you're harassing me. I felt a pit in my stomach. I didn't understand how everything had come to this point. I want you to do it to me, she continued. We'll go into the bathroom, and when we're done, none of this will have happened. I told her no. I didn't scream. I didn't insult. I just told her no, to leave me alone. Her breathing became faster. She ran a hand through her hair. Come on. I know you want it, she said. I'll make you come in 5 minutes. Just a little. I need it. Believe me, it's not something I can control. I just need it. I took a step back. I repeated no, that it wasn't going to happen. It was then that her face changed completely. The anxiety transformed into something colder. You're an idiot, she said, not a man. You won't do it. No, I replied. And leave me alone. I'll tell the truth. I turned around with the intention of leaving. I didn't get more than a step when I felt a strong push from behind. I lost my balance and turned instinctively. Then, everything happened very quickly. Natalia started to scream. Help! Help me, please. Her voice was loud, desperate. She screamed with force, with an intensity one had never heard from her before. I froze. Help me! Elizabeth, help! As she screamed, she began to pull at her own clothes. She tore her blouse. She pulled her pants down to her mid-leg. With one hand, she tore her underwear. She kept screaming without stopping. Please, someone help me. I didn't know what to do. I felt like my body wouldn't respond. I told her to be quiet, to stop, that she was crazy, but my voice sounded small compared to her screams. "Help!" She kept repeating. "Help me!" The patio lights came on brighter. I heard footsteps, voices, chairs moving. The music stopped abruptly. In seconds, several people came out of the house. Natalia fell to the ground. Her clothes were torn, her pants down, her makeup smudged with tears. I was standing in front of her, not understanding how everything had escalated in that way. Elizabeth was one of the first to arrive. When she saw the scene, she put her hands to her mouth. Her eyes filled with tears instantly. She shook her head, as if what she was seeing couldn't be real. She managed to say, "It can't be." Dana ran to Natalia and knelt beside her, covering her with her body, asking her what had happened. Natalia was crying, shaking. She couldn't speak properly. She just said broken phrases. She sobbed. He tried. She didn't finish the sentence. Wasn't necessary. Lev turned to me. He didn't give me time to say anything. He grabbed me by the collar of my shirt and hit me. I felt the first impact on my face, then another in my abdomen. Omar joined in. I don't remember exactly how many blows there were. I just remember falling to the ground, feeling the taste of blood in my mouth, and hearing screams around me. Someone was saying something, someone was trying to separate them, but everything was mixed up. The voices were noise, the pain was intense, but the worst was the absolute confusion. I didn't understand how I had gone from trying to go to the bathroom to being on the ground, being beaten, pointed out as a monster. The next thing I remember is waking up in a hospital. The white lights bothered my eyes. My head was bandaged, my body ached. It took me several seconds to get my bearings. As I moved my head, I saw her. My mother was sitting next to me. Her eyes were swollen from crying so much. When she noticed I had woken up, she immediately stood up and approached me. She said with a broken voice, "Tell me it's not true." I didn't understand what she was talking about. "What?" I tried to say, but my throat hurt. She took a breath, as if she needed strength to continue speaking. "They say you tried to assault a girl. Natalia, that's what everyone says." I felt like the world was stopping. "Of course not, Mom," I replied, still confused. She was the one who was coming on to me. I never did anything to her. My mother burst into tears. She covered her face with her hands. "They came to take your statement," she said between tears, "but you were still unconscious. They said that when you're discharged, they're going to arrest you." I felt a lump in my chest. The word arrest resonated in my head like something unreal, foreign, impossible. I hadn't done anything. I didn't understand how this could be happening. "It's not true," I repeated. "I didn't do anything." My mother took my hand tightly, as if she was afraid I would disappear. "I believe you," she said, "but outside no one believes you." It was at that moment that I started to cry too, not from physical pain, but from fear, a deep, paralyzing fear. I understood that it was no longer just about an argument or misunderstanding. Something much bigger had been set in motion, and I was at the center of it all, not knowing how to defend myself. I left the hospital with an aching body and a broken mind. There were no handcuffs at that moment. There were no cameras or police waiting for me at the door. Still, I knew from the first step outside that my life no longer existed as it was before. That same day, I found out I had lost my job. I worked at a social media marketing company. It wasn't my dream job, but I liked it. I worked hard. I met goals, and I had a clear projection. Human Resources called me on the phone while I was still resting. The call was cold, brief, and carefully worded. They told me that given the circumstances and the seriousness of the accusations, the company had decided to terminate my contract. They didn't want to be associated with someone who had that history. It didn't matter that there was no sentence. It didn't matter that I denied everything. For them, the mere accusation was enough. Then came the messages that never arrived. I tried to contact my friends, Levi, Omar, even Dana. Long messages explaining, asking them to listen to me just once. No one responded. Some read the messages and never answered. Others blocked me directly. Elizabeth didn't answer either. For a few days, I lived in a kind of denial. I told myself that everything would be cleared up, that at some point someone would listen to my version, but that didn't happen. A few days later, the police returned. This time they did arrest me. They took me to make a statement, and I was held in preventive detention. I spent weeks there. I'm not going to detail that stage too much because it's still hard for me to remember it clearly. I'll just say that it was the most humiliating and lonely period of my life. Sleeping surrounded by strangers, carrying a label that didn't belong to me, feeling how they look at you as if you were something despicable. My family hired a lawyer with what little they had. He would visit me from time to time, explain the process, tell me to be patient. One day, he arrived with unexpected news. "You're getting out," he told me. She dropped the charges. I didn't know what to feel. A part of me was relieved. Another remained silent. I left prison with a naive hope that by being free, things would start to improve. I thought people would understand that if the charges had been dropped, it was because something didn't add up. I was wrong. Outside, the story was already written. Natalia made sure to tell everyone that I had gotten out because I had connections in the police. She presented it as an injustice, as further proof that the system protected people like me. For many, that made more sense than accepting that she had lied. I tried to explain myself. I wrote messages, emails. I even published a long text on my social media telling my version. No one commented. No one asked. I only received silences and some looks of contempt when I went out on the street. My parents were the only ones who stayed. My mother accompanied me everywhere. My father spoke little, but he was always present. They believed me. That was the only thing that kept me going. I had no proof of anything. Natalia had never written to me. She never left voicemails. Everything had happened in spaces where she made sure not to leave a trace. My word against hers, and her word was worth more. One day, I made a decision that I now understand as desperate. I went to Elizabeth's work without notice. I knew where she worked. I hesitated a lot before doing it, but I felt that if I didn't talk to her face to face, I would carry that silence with me for the rest of my life. I just wanted her to listen to me. I waited for her outside. When she came out and saw me, she froze. Her eyes filled with tears immediately. "What are you doing here, you sick bastard?" She yelled at me. "I never want to see you again." I felt my chest compress. "Ellie, please," I said. "Let me explain." She lied. I never did anything to her. She dropped the lawsuit. That's why I'm out. I love you. I would never do something like that to anyone. She shook her head, crying. "How do you expect me to believe you?" She said. "She's one of my best friends. She's a nice, sweet girl. She's religious. I've known her for years." I tried to get a little closer, but she backed away. She was coming on to me. I continued. I didn't want to do anything to her, and that's why she blamed me. I should have told you before, but I was scared. I was afraid that no one would believe me. Elizabeth looked at me as if she didn't recognize me. "You know what the worst part is?" She said. "That because of me, she went through this mess. I should have never gone out with you. I feel so guilty for having introduced you. The poor girl doesn't want to go out anywhere anymore. You ruined her life." Her words pierced me. "You're a sicko," she finished. "I never want to see you again." She turned around and left crying. I stood there without moving, feeling something inside me break for good. I went home without saying anything. I locked myself in my room for days. I didn't eat. I didn't sleep well. I sent out resumes, and no one responded. Weeks passed, and no company wanted to hire me. The rumor was enough to close all doors for me. I began to think that my life was already ruined, that no matter what I did, I would always be that guy. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. My parents were sleeping. The house was silent. I got up and went to the bathroom. I closed the door. I looked at myself in the mirror for a long time. I didn't recognize myself. I saw someone tired, defeated, empty. I opened the drawer and took out a razor. I held it in my hand, trembling. I thought that maybe this way everything would end, that I wouldn't have to keep explaining, justifying myself, surviving a life that didn't feel like mine. But something stopped me. I thought of my mother, of her face crying in the hospital, of how she had defended me when no one else did. I thought of the pain it would cause her if I disappeared, that even in death I would still be the guilty one for everyone, and she would have to carry that. I couldn't do it. I put the razor away. I sat on the floor for a moment, breathing with difficulty. Then I left the bathroom, went to my room, and lay down. That night, I cried until I fell asleep. I didn't know how I was going to go on living, but at least I was still alive. One day, while we were having breakfast in silence, my father broke the quiet. "Son," he said, I know it's a difficult time and that you can't find a job. I spoke with your Uncle Enzo. He can give you a job. He needs a cashier for his business. I know it's not the best in the world, but at least you can earn some money and get away from all this. I thought about it for several minutes. It wasn't just about accepting a job that was far below what I had done before. It was also about admitting that my previous life was over. Still, I understood that staying stuck wouldn't help me. I nodded. My Uncle Enzo lived almost 2 hours from the city in a small, quiet town where everyone knew each other. He had a modest business, a store that had been running for years. He offered me not only the job, but also a place to stay while I settled in. He was divorced and lived only with his son Luke, who was 19. From the first day, my uncle was direct with me. He told me he didn't care about the rumors or what was said outside, that I was his nephew and that he trusted me. Luke was even more natural. He treated me like an older brother from start. He didn't look at me with curiosity or suspicion. He listened to me. I told him everything, from the insinuations, the threat, the night of the party, and what came after. They didn't interrupt me. They didn't question my version. When I finished, Luke was the first to speak. "That's crazy," he said. "I believe you." Those simple, direct words gave me a relief I hadn't felt in months. The following months, I lived with them. I worked in the store during the day, and in the evenings we had dinner together. We talked about simple things. Little by little, I began to rebuild something like a life. It wasn't the one I had planned, but it was a life after all. I visited my parents every weekend. The journey was long, but necessary. They also seemed calmer seeing me stable, busy, although we knew the wound was still there. One Saturday, during one of those visits, I took Luke with me. I wanted him to see the city and clear his head a bit. We went for a walk. We talked about music, about plans, about normal things. I told him I would take him to try the best barbecue in the place. We ate well, we laughed. For a few hours, I felt almost normal. Afterwards, we went to a nearby park. It was a quiet afternoon. People walking, children playing, couples sitting on benches. I sat next to Luke and looked around without thinking too much. Then I saw her. Natalia was sitting a few meters away, laughing with a friend I didn't recognize. She looked good, relaxed, happy, as if nothing had happened. I felt a blow to my chest. My breathing quickened. She looked up, and our eyes met. I instinctively looked away. "Dude, what's wrong?" Luke asked. "Is that your ex-girlfriend, Elizabeth?" I didn't answer. "That's Natalia." It took Luke a second to process the name. Then his expression changed. "Son of a bitch," he muttered. "But what the heck is she doing here? Why is she coming towards us?" I looked up. Natalia was getting up. I felt anxious. My heart was pounding. "Let's go," I told Luke. We both got up. At that moment, I heard her voice. "Kenneth, wait. I need to talk to you. I want to apologize." I didn't stop. I kept walking with a racing pulse, tried to ignore her voice. I heard her footsteps approaching behind me. She wasn't yelling. She wasn't drawing anyone's attention. She was just walking fast, as if she knew exactly how to catch up to me without causing a scene. "Please, Kenneth," she said when she was a few steps away. "Just give me a few minutes, I beg you." I stopped, not because I wanted to listen to her, but because I felt that if I didn't, that scene was going to repeat itself in some other way later. I turned and looked at her. She still looked calm, even vulnerable. Nothing in her expression reflected what she had done a year ago. Luke was next to me. I looked at him. "Leave us alone for a moment," I told him. Luke hesitated for a second, then nodded. "Sure, brother," he replied. "Just take your phone." I didn't understand right away. I already had my phone in my pocket. Luke was holding out his to me. As I took it, I noticed something on the screen. The audio recorder was active. In that instant, I understood everything. Luke wasn't looking at me with distrust. He was looking at me with care, with intelligence. He was protecting me. Without saying anything, I put the phone in my pant pocket, but I left it slightly sticking out, enough so that the microphone wouldn't be covered. Then I turned to Natalia. "Speak," I told her, but quickly. Natalia took a deep breath. Her shoulders slumped as if she had been holding herself back for a long time. "I'm sorry," she said. "Really, I'm sorry. I didn't realize what was going to happen. I never thought everything would get out of control like that." I didn't answer. "It's not entirely my fault," she continued. "I suffered a lot in my childhood. Things happened, things that marked me. She kept talking in that soft tone she always used in front of others, the same tone that made everyone trust her. I just saw you, she said. I liked you. And the thing is, I have a disease. I looked at her intently. I'm a sex addict, she confessed. My parents found out about the complaint and forced me to drop it. They know about my addiction. I've been in therapy for years. My stomach churned, but I didn't interrupt her. I can't control it, she went on. I've done it with strangers. Most of them said yes. It was just a few minutes, and the anxiety went away. She paused briefly, but you told me no, and that enraged me. I had been fantasizing about you for weeks. I couldn't believe you were so difficult. I felt a mixture of rage and a strange calm, as if every word confirmed something I had always known deep down. Why me? I asked. Why not Levi or Omar? She shook her head. I don't know. I just wanted to be with you. I never liked those two idiots. I even did it with Dana's boyfriend. She never found out. I took a deep breath. Every sentence was more proof. Understand me, she said. It wasn't my fault. I have this good girl facade because my parents forced me to. They keep the secret because the church would kick them out if they found out. She looked at me with slightly teary eyes. I just wanted to apologize. I ruined your life for a whim. I'm sorry. The anxiety doesn't let me sleep. The guilt doesn't either. I'm glad you have a new life away from here. I just wanted to vent because I can't handle so much guilt anymore. There was a long silence. I knew that every word was being recorded. It's okay, I finally said. Anyone can make a mistake. Natalia sighed as if she had just lifted a huge weight off her shoulders. Thank you, she said. I'm glad you understand. Believe me, I'm a good girl. Then she smiled in a way that chilled me to the bone. If you want, we can see each other sometime, go out, talk a little as friends. I don't want to see you alone. I looked at her calmly. Maybe we'll see each other again someday, I replied. But now I have to go. Her smile widened. Wow, she said. I didn't think you'd take it so well. I missed you so much. I nodded slightly, turned around, and left without looking back. Luke was waiting for me a few meters away. We didn't say anything on the way. We went straight to my parents' house. That same night, we listened to the full audio. There were no doubts, no ambiguities. Luke prepared a detailed post, clear, without insults, with key fragments of the recording. My father, in silence, began to prepare the lawsuit. The post went out that same night. It wasn't impulsive or full of insults. Luke took care to structure it carefully, a clear chronology, concrete facts, precise fragments of the audio, and a brief explanation of why it was being made public. We weren't looking for revenge. We were looking for the truth. I read it several times before authorizing its publication. Every line hurt, but also freed. Hours later, the lawsuit was also filed. My lawyer moved quickly. This time there was proof, not interpretations, not assumptions, not conflicting versions. There was a recorded confession, clear, direct. The process moved forward with a speed that contrasted brutally with the slowness with which my life had been destroyed a year before. Natalia denied it first. Her parents, too. They tried to discredit the audio, talk about manipulation, about context taken out of place. It didn't work. The expert analysis confirmed the authenticity of the recording. Every word matched. There was no escape. The ruling was decisive. She and her parents had to pay more than $50,000 for damages. Moral damage, damage to reputation, job loss, psychological effects. The money didn't repair the year I lost, but it did make something clear. The lie had been officially exposed. The reaction was immediate. People who had been ignoring me for months started writing. Some messages were long, others uncomfortably short. Sorry for not listening to you. I didn't know what to think. I should have asked you. I didn't answer everyone. Levi and Omar called me. We talked for hours. Both acknowledged that they acted out of shock and anger, that they never imagined something like this. I understood that at that moment, they saw a scene designed to provoke a single reaction. I don't fully justify them, but I didn't hold a grudge either. We ended the call on good terms. We didn't go back to what we were, but we closed the circle. Dana sent me a brief message. It just said she was sorry, that she never imagined it was all a lie. I replied with the same brevity. Nothing more was needed. And then Elizabeth called. I recognized the number immediately. I hesitated for a few seconds before answering. When I did, her voice sounded different. More tired, more real. I saw the post, she said, and about the lawsuit. God, I can't believe that bitch tricked us all. I just want to know how you are and to apologize. I took a deep breath before answering. I'm a little better, I said, now that everything has been revealed. And don't worry, you were just helping your friend. I understand. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. I'm sorry it all ended like this, she continued. This is something like a farewell. We can't be a couple or have a friendship. I'm already with someone else, but I just want you to know that I believe you now. I felt a lump in my throat. A few tears escaped. Silent, without drama. It's okay, I replied. It ended very badly, but that's life. I wish you the best. We said goodbye. We hung up. There were no reproaches, no attempts to go back, just the late truth that I still needed to hear. I'm writing this the same day as that call. Not to close a wound, because some don't close completely, but to leave a record. So that if someone reads this, they understand that a false accusation doesn't end when the charges are dropped. It ends when the whole truth comes out, and sometimes not even then. The scandal surrounding Natalia's addiction was devastating for her family. The church found out. The town talked. Her parents had to move. I don't know exactly where. Some say they even left the country, that they went to Colombia, where they had family. I don't know. I don't care either. I don't feel satisfaction about it. Just relief knowing that I no longer carry a lie that didn't belong to me. Today I'm still rebuilding my life. It's not the same, but it's mine. And this time it's based on the truth.